The Brad rules.
Fake Namek. So there is so much controversy around this little mini arc in Dragon Ball Z. Everybody who talks about this is mostly not a big fan of it. They feel like it's a time waster instead of going to real Namek. Our heroes, Krillin, Gohan, and Bulma, wind up on a fake planet Namek that is just an illusion. It's actually a very ugly planet, like a gaseous planet that is filled with nothingness. But Rady and Zekro, who are two aliens that have been marooned on this planet, they're just waiting for some suckers to come along so they can steal their ship and hightail it out of there. Because their ship has been damaged and they can't fly out of there. So this is their plan, and now Krillin, Gohan, and Bulma are the marks, and now they're just biding their time until the storm clears so they can get out of there. Now their ship is damaged, and now they need to repair it so they can use it to make their escape. So why are they allowing themselves to fall into this trap? Well, they've disguised themselves as Namekians, so they look like they're unassuming, that they're meaning well, but no, they're actually leading them on a wild goose chase, and they're having them hunt for fake Dragon Balls. They think that this is the real Namek. They have no reason to believe otherwise, but there is definitely some suspicions being risen, specifically from Bulma, who really thinks that there's something fishy going on here. Why are they helping them out? Why are they being so overly nice? And, well, later on, we do find out. Now, it's very interesting that I thought that this was actually a three-parter. I seem to have had a false memory about this, even though I did a full DBZ watch through just a couple of years ago. But actually, the fourth part of this actually sees our heroes finding their way to the real planet Namek. So it's actually kind of like 3.5 episodes when you kind of think about it, of them spending time on this fake Namek. So a lot of people think that this is a waste of time. They should have just went to the real Namek. There was no reason to do this. But when you think about it, they spend about 4 days on this planet, this fake planet Namek. And if they got to Namek too early, you could probably say that things would have went a lot differently. You know, I don't think Frieza would have found the Dragon Balls so fast, and Vegeta wouldn't have made it to the planet. And so things would have really been out of sorts. And then kind of think about it, they would have gotten there early. Gohan and Krillin would probably die at the hands of Raccoon, you know, because Goku needed those extra days to get to Namek to save them. So a number of possibilities could have happened. And I know that sounds like bullshit because this is just filler and those things happen anyway without us even knowing about them. But, and for the sake of the anime, it's just kind of fun to theorize about this sort of stuff. And, what makes this so great? Why do I enjoy it? Because I do enjoy it. I think it's a fun romp because it's like a Dragon Ball OG adventure. It reminds me of original Dragon Ball with Kid Goku hunting for the Dragon Balls. And they're not being some big, scary supervillain that's, just ready to destroy the planet. There's no Frieza, there's no Cell, there's no Boo. This is just classic Dragon Ball. There's a problem and it needs to be resolved. And there's adventure along the way, including exploration. And that's what you get here. I really like all the different locations. Basically, this is all an illusion. Nothing of this is real. It's a real planet, but it looks nothing like this. And it's just a work of Rady and Zekro. They're making it this way. They're using their powers to make these illusions. So we see things like an ancient tomb, and we get to see some clever hieroglyphics on the wall, and they actually do reveal their real form. just by looking at these hieroglyphics. And Krillin seems to notice it on the wall, so I like that foreshadowing. We also see this big dinosaur. You know, we've seen this before in the Wasteland when Piccolo is training Gohan. But this T-Rex, he makes an appearance here. And we get to see his skeleton, and it's like, you know, his skin has been dissolved in this, like, acidic lake. And it's actually pretty startling looking when you look at it. You're like, oh shit, what the fuck? Yeah, it looks kind of weird. And I remember, like, the first time I saw this, I had to, like, I was probably, like, wide-eyed. I couldn't see my face, but I remember, like, it was kind of unsettling to me. We also see a giant inside of a castle. This is kind of cool, and they have to pull the Dragon Ball off of his ear because he's wearing the Dragon Ball as an earring. They also think that they're walking through a forest, but it's actually a big fucking bird, and it's a bunch of birds like flying up. And it's really cool how they do this because you're not sure. It looks like it's a forest, and they're walking through, and Krillin's got a torch in his hand, and all of a sudden it's just they're up in the fucking air and they're flying on the back of a bird. I mean, this is creative shit, to say the least, and I love it. And Gohan throughout is showing us his bravery. You know, he's doing things like he's going inside a tornado to get a Dragon Ball. He's all for it. He goes into that lake that the T-Rex dissolved in, and he's wearing a special deep-sea diver suit so he could get the Dragon Ball, and he only has 20 seconds to surface or the suit's going to dissolve. Does anybody think about what would happen if his suit did dissolve? Gohan's, like, skin would have been eaten off of his fucking body. I don't even think his Saiyan blood could resist that. Or maybe it could, I don't know. They never really call that into question. But I think that was, like, very brave of Gohan. And you can kind of see how Gohan is changing a little bit. He's not the little whimpering, sniveling kid that he was. You know, because he was still like that in the Saiyan saga. You know, still, you know, very scared. He didn't even want to fight against Nappa. So, you know, it's interesting to see this, you know, character development from Gohan. I think it's handled very well. It's filler content. We see a lot of Gohan's development in the filler. So I do recommend that people, you know, like if you haven't seen Dragon Ball Z, and probably have if you're watching this video, but if you haven't seen the whole thing or something like that, I would recommend you watch the filler because, you know, Dragon Ball Kai definitely takes out a lot of Gohan's character development. And, you know, I think that this is important for a lot of people to see. Also, some other important stuff that's laced throughout this, you know, that needs to be talked about is Goku trying to get out of the hospital. These are some funny moments. He's not ready. He, like, re-injures himself. Also, Vegeta is at the Frieza base getting rehabilitated. They have him in the tank, and he meets up with Kui. So there's a lot of different little things here that are interesting. You get extra Vegeta dialogue. You know, Vegeta learning about Frieza and him looking for the Dragon Balls, and that he's on planet Namek. So this is definitely an interesting little tidbit here, why it's worth watching this little arc, because I think that this is pretty cool. I mean, you get some extra stuff from Goku and Vegeta, main character stuff, and I like that. And another thing that was really cool about this was the ice cave and the boulder chase. You know, Krillin, Bulma, and Gohan, they're on this little iceberg, this little chunk of ice, and they're sliding down this slope inside of an ice cave. And it reminded me of the Land of Ice from OG Dragon Ball when Goku is riding on Yajirobe. In this little, they fall into this cavern, and, you know, I think that is definitely a throwback there, to say the very least. So yeah, this was very cool. There's, you know, some tense moments because when they finally reveal themselves and we can see a lot of inconsistencies happening, we see that they're trapped. These monsters got hold of them, and then Radiant Zekro are about to board the ship. They force Bulma to say the password, and it looks like they're going to steal this ship, that they're going to get away with it. But Krillin and Gohan manage to get free, and they stop them just in time, and they get off the planet. So this overall, I think, is very enjoyable. I like the adventure. I like the scenery. I like, the hijinks that's in it. There's some good comedy. So yeah, Fake Namek. I think it's a good little arc, a good little filler arc. And if you haven't seen it, if you've only watched Dragon Ball Kai, or if someone on fucking Reddit told you to skip over all the filler in DBZ, go back and watch it. Yeah, you should, because I think you'll enjoy it. Give the filler a chance. Give filler a chance. And I think you'll thank me later. So guys, let me know what you think. Do you like the Fake Namek arc, or do you agree with the majority and say it's a waste of time? I'd love to know, so let's discuss it in the comments down below. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell to get all notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my subscribers for your continued support, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.